What up, geeks, and welcome back to For Geeks by Geeks, the place where geeks come to geek out. As always, I am Boser, and we are finally back with another Geek Out Sesh. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it's been a day. We can blame the eclipse. Shout out if you saw it. Shout out if you watched it without glasses. I don't think you saw a whole lot, if that's the case. But yes, I did take a break in the middle of the day with my entire team, and we went up on the roof, or there's a balcony, and we watched the eclipse. Now where I was, we were not in the path of totality. It was about 95%. So it was kind of cool to be able to see most of it. All it was a little toenail of a sun through our glasses. And I don't know if any of you noticed the darkness that an eclipse causes is unlike any other darkness. It's not like night, obviously. And it's not like a cloud. It almost puts a weird filter all over the world, if that makes sense. It's like, I felt like we were watching a scene from a movie and they put this like dystopian filter over the entire world. That was the coolest part, I thought, of the eclipse. But comment below with your stories. Did anybody see the entire thing? Did you see the corona? Let me know. But otherwise, y'all, it's been a minute since we've had a Geek Out Sesh. Life got busy, and I had a cancellation, but that's okay. This happens. I'm glad to have one tonight, and we are welcoming back a returning guest. So I hope that you were around last time he was on, but if not, you're going to meet a really great guy. But first, a few announcements. Hello, Ratha Khan. Gorgeous. Welcome back. But a few announcements. Speaking of Khan, if anybody has been watching our Cloudscape campaign that happens every Saturday, we air a new episode. We've actually been airing every other Saturday because we're coming up to a short little break. We're going to leave you on quite the cliffhanger, and so we're excited for that. But if you are watching and you're watching this maybe after the fact and it's a gap in it, just know we're coming back. We're just taking a short little break for our cast members to get some extra ducks in a row. But we're having a great time, and if you're enjoying it, let me know. Reading the comments from the Cloudscape campaign is my all-time favorite thing to do. Never knew DMing could bring such joy, but it has. All of you DMs that have been on the show before, we're not lying. It is the greatest feeling ever. And speaking of dice, of course, we got to give a shout out to our ongoing sponsor, Minstrel, making handmade, handcrafted, locally sourced dice accessories, dice bags, dice trays, dice boxes from out there in Poland. Great materials. You can find the affiliate link by hitting Command Minstrel or in the links below, depending if you're watching this live or after the fact. Every little bit that you support Minstrel gives us a little kickback, so that's a great way to support the show, but also give some love to a really great creator, because they're not just dice, they're your dice. And if you take care of your dice, they'll take care of you. So go spoil your dice. Get some dice accessories from Minstrel. But I don't know about y'all. I am ready to hang out with my friend that I haven't seen in a while. The last time he was on was an embarrassment for T and I, not for him. We'll talk about it. But he's been a longtime friend of the show, and he's been cooking some really cool stuff, especially for all of you cosplayers that are maybe looking to get into it. Maybe you don't know where to start. He is here to help you. So I hope that we have some cosplayers tonight, or at least watching back. And we're going to give you some really great resources, and we're going to pick his brain. But without further ado, please join me in welcoming Freakish Workshop himself. Say hello to my friend Noah.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm here. I forgot about the clapping.
There's clapping too. Yes.
I forgot about the clapping.
Yeah. Everybody gets clapping. If we like you, you get that. If we don't like you, you get this. No, not that one. What's the one? Maybe it's this one. Yeah.
That's good to know. I'll make a note of that. You know.
No, I've accidentally hit that button because they're both hands. We have a bunch of reactions here on Talk Studio, and quickly I'm like aiming for the hands, and this is cheering, and then there's clapping, and they look very similar. And if I click the wrong one, T gives me shit. So I'm just giving myself shit in
for it.
Yeah. How you been, man?
Oh, I'm good. I am good, but I'm even better because I'm back with you guys today.
Oh, stop. We paid him to say that.
I don't know who you're talking about because it didn't land in my bank account, but
oh shit! Did I use the wrong? No.
Yeah.
Venmo.
Right. There's so many of us.
Wait, you're not Noah.239, not a bot at gmail.com.
Unfortunately, not. I've heard he's a great guy. Very honest, very stand-up.
Yeah.
But
we could all aim to be a little bit more like Noah.2.9.
No, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. It's been a minute.
It has. When was that? When
I honestly don't know.
For those of you that didn't witness the last time Noah was on, he was trying to give us a hands-on workshop, freakishly generous workshop, and to help us make Batman cowls out of foam.
And it was my template. It was my template, and it was my instructions.
It had nothing to do with your template. All to do with the people trying to use it.
Or the teacher, one of the two.
No, we just had no bandwidth to even listen to any advice from you that day. We're like, none of our shit's working. We bought the wrong glue.
It was great. It was great fun. It was
up with like half of a. I don't even know if I still have it. I probably threw it out in rage.
I think one of you ended up with like half a headpiece because we never got to the neck. We never got to the neck portion. I think we built the head first.
Kudos to us to think that we could fit it all in one episode.
Yeah. I kind of looked at the tutorial and I was like, I think we could get going. Like, at a clip, I bet we could do this. No.
Maybe for an experienced cosplayer, yes.
Maybe.
But for newbies to foam crafting, maybe not.
It's hard for me as well because when a tutorial comes out, I've most likely made it 3 or 4 times, and so I can just sort of steamroll myself into making it. So that was fun. It was good fun though.
Imagine what happens when you actually know what the hell you're doing.
Well, what happens is my Etsy shop has essentially doubled since we last talked in how many things are being sold, offered. Offered's a better word. Let's stick with offered.
Pushed,
force-fed
down your throat.
Yeah. No, it's been a great adventure. I took templating and that kind of thing on Etsy a lot more serious in the last 6 months or so.
Oh yeah.
Just putting up a bunch of new things, a bunch of modification bundles, a bunch of unique items as well that are more niche, as well as some physical items. I brought back my foam pistol magazines, my superhero utility belts that you can buy physical. Like I build for you, I paint for you, and then it's ordered and sent. I also introduced these guys. So to match my Venom gloves, I have these neck seals. So these go around the neck, and there's this jaw piece that makes it look like the Venom, the symbiote jaw is like forming around your head. You just stick your head into one of these. It sits on your neck. This is the Carnage variant. So obviously it's spikier, red and black. And then I also came up with the Venom version, which is much simpler. It's just the black with white veins, so a little bit more like the movie, less like the book, because it's hard with no chest because it kind of sits up at your collarbone. It's harder to do any symbol, so I just did like white veins from the Venom movie. So
I think you would get that. If anybody walks around, it's like a casual cosplay.
Yeah, Yeah, and that's the whole point of them, is that you can wear one costume piece and technically be wearing an entire costume. And that was the goal for the gloves. That's the goal with the neck seals. I don't really know. Yeah, and like together, I think they look fantastic. I made both of them for a cosplay originally. So if you go on my Instagram, or even actually if you go on my thumbnail on the Etsy for it, you can actually see me with my glove, and you can see the original neck seal with the mouth coming up. So yeah, it was time. I had a few people ask me about it if I had anything else Venom wise, and I listened, and I actually got ahead of the curve this time. I've always been behind the movies by quite a few months. I made the gloves like a year or half a year after the first one came out.
Yeah.
when Let There Be Carnage came out, it took me another like 6-8 months to get the Carnage version out. And then this one time, I had all 3 gloves: Anti-Venom, Carnage, Venom, and I had a neck seal when Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 came out.
Oh, there you go.
There's a lot of symbiote stuff in that. And so all of a sudden, I remember like getting a bunch of orders well into December. And I was like, what is going on? Because usually it dies down after Halloween. What is going on in the world right now that everyone's so interested in symbiotes? Oh, right. Yeah, the video game.
Oh, that little thing.
That little thing, yeah. But yeah, no, it's been a fun adventure. Yeah, that's kind of...
You've been busy.
Yeah, I've been very busy. I've been very, very busy. Not to mention cosplays that I've also been working on. So yeah, no, it's been pretty nuts.
So before we get too far into it, if anybody is tuning in and hasn't seen your previous 2 Geek Out sessions, get on his level. Wow. You already gave us a little insight about the Etsy shop, but tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do as a geek, so that so they know kind of where we're starting tonight.
Absolutely. So my name's Noah. You can call me Freakish. I absolutely answer to that. I am a foam smith or a foam crafter. It's kind of the hobby term for what I do. So most of my costume work it has to do with foam crafting. So EVA foam, craft foam, and then I build armor. Usually I'm an armor builder out of that. I've been doing it since 2018. Usually DC characters, but recently I've stepped into Marvel. Green Goblin is my kind of latest big cosplay, and man, you guys love it. I was not expecting the response that I got from people.
What's not to love?
I see, that's what people keep saying, but it's that imposter syndrome that sometimes you can get, where you're just like, it's just me, like, right, guys, it's just me. But you know, everyone doesn't. I find a lot of times people don't see me; they see that exactly. They see the armor, and not to mention, Goblin's not a very popular character to cosplay, so you don't see him very often. And so I think that was a big part of it. I'd like to also say that it's my spin on the character, but I don't know. Like I love the fact. I love the Oni, the samurai kind of Japanese mouth with the tusks. That's the one thing out of the entire suit that I'm actually proud of. Is like most proud of. Sorry, is the mouthpiece.
Everything else is shit, but
everything else is shit. No,
no, it's all awesome. And honestly, one of my favorite things is these scales, because I don't know how long that must have taken you.
Oh my god! And it was my first time. I've never done scale work, and that was my first time doing it. And there's a lot. I could have done more. I was arguing with myself if I should fill the biceps in, but I wasn't sure what would be too many scales, to the point where there's just no point in having them, because it just blends together. But I feel like the thighs, the knees, and the shoulders were important, because I was keeping the original Goblin concept in my mind. I was trying to blend modern / futuristic sci-fi combat armor, designed for a glider. So what you can't see here is on the back, the neck actually bulks up quite a bit around the neck into the back of the head, because in my mind he's on a glider, which means that the G's on that thing are going to be nuts, and so he's going to need reinforcement like a cast around the back of his head. And so I had that in mind, but then I also wanted everyone to look at it and go, oh, it's classic Green Goblin. So I have my cranium extends backwards quite a bit, probably a foot off of my actual head. There's also the purple and the green. Obviously, I've got that emerald green and that really kind of royal purple. The pumpkin bombs are very Sam Raimi's. I thought that that design was fantastic, and I did not want to change that. So
and you have the Sam Raimi mask over here too.
Yeah, that was a fun prop to make. Honestly, that was puff
you made
paint.
this?
Yeah, I made it. So that was a red lycra mask that I pulled over a foam head and then puff painted the webbing, and then the lenses are just straight up foam, so you can't see through the lenses. And I glued them on. And one of the things that I did in this version, because this is technically version 2, my boots, and you can't see my boots because obviously no one takes photos of boots. Right. I actually have the elf toe, where the toe kind of curls up and comes out.
Oh, cool.
I was able to add that to the design, and I'm very happy with it. So, the response with him from the Spider-Man community, from the Marvel community, was just amazing. I was incredibly humbled, speechless for most of the time I was wearing it. There was also Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse was really big, right? Like it had just come out, and so everyone was on Spider-Man high. Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure I saw 1 or 2 Green Goblin costumes, but they were kids, younger kids. Yeah, which was very cute. I wanted to take photos, but it'd be a little weird because I wasn't in costume.
You're hey, child. Yeah, I'm a grown man and I love your costume.
Exactly. It's a little weird. But there's so I thought being one of the only, if not the only Goblin cosplayer at the time, really got me a bunch of attention as well, which again, I was not prepared for, but I greatly appreciated. So
clearly you have no idea what you're doing.
No idea.
Just throwing shit at the wall, seeing what sticks.
Complete beginner.
This complete beginner. No, you are a foam god in my opinion.
It's fine.
It's
okay.
And you have every right to begin this brand new series on YouTube that you are just beginning.
Yeah, I'm starting two series. So one of them in particular, which I'm honestly more proud of than the other one, is a series called "So You Want to Be a Cosplayer." I should have sent you the stinger. That's okay.
So you want to be a cosplayer? Did I nail it? Was that it?
No, not at all.
Oh,
no,
shit.
Not at all. Okay. Sorry.
I'll try again.
Be embarrassed. No.
I'm looking for more. I'm looking for more negative emojis. Oh my god! You did rain?
I went total edgelord there.
Oh my god.
Do it again. Flip it. Do the chicken wing it.
For those looking back on podcast, we keep finding new weird animations based on hand gestures. Yeah. And I can't find any list of these anywhere. I can't find a setting. It's just like a surprise. Oh, it's only cool when you do it. I get
cool when I do it. Yeah.
You have to be a foam god. I get it.
A foam god, yeah.
Anyway, so you started this new series, So You Want to Be a Cosplayer.
And the original idea honestly came to me from Spider-Man Homecoming with Captain America. He sits down on the detention. He's like, "So you got detention," and that was sort of the idea. So if you guys notice if you guys watch the videos, which self-promotion here, go watch the videos. I'd greatly appreciate it. I start the video with me coming and sitting down on a chair with my arms crossed, "So you want to be a cosplayer?" But basically, the goal of the series is to provide brand new cosplayers, people who have just gotten in, or people wanting to join, but they have no idea where to start, because it's such a, especially now, not to mention from 2018 when I started, it is such a massive community and a massive hobby, and where to start is not clear. And it never was, but it's just not clear anymore.
And it's almost not clear in a different way than it was, because back in the day, getting
my
into
back
cosplay,
just hurt you saying that.
Getting into cosplay was the real question was, what character do I care enough about, and or what do I have in my closet that I can make? Now, I feel like it's become such like a big cool thing that people are so intimidated to even get started because like you were saying, you have imposter syndrome being able to do what you have. I can't imagine how scary it is for somebody just starting out and seeing like all those great cosplayers on their feeds that they're scrolling through and admiring and thinking, I want to be like Freakish Workshop someday, but I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think because it's so popular and because it's monetizationable, I think that's the right term.
It's totally
monetizationable. People forget that it's an art form, and so all you see are finished cosplays that have also been photoshopped, that have also gotten a filter over them. Just like everything else on the internet at this point, there's a filter on everything. Right. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a series for brand new cosplayers or people wanting to get in and talk to people. Originally, it wasn't even going to be interviews, but I realized that I actually don't know a lot about a bunch of the cosplay world as I was writing the first few videos. The first few videos are just me talking about the cosplay community. One of the videos, I break down the different kinds of cosplay expressions that I call subgenres, and one of them is foam crafter or foam smith. It's actually, it's a great video because it's just putting labels on things. And I know that's a scary term these days, but it really does help when you can go, oh, I know what kind of cosplayer she kind of is. Yeah. It's very loose labels, but be able to go, you're a seamster or a seamstress, you're a fabricator, you're a foam smith, you're a closet cosplayer. And a lot of times it's not, I didn't create these labels. They've been used for years before I made a video about them.
It's just looking out on the con floor, it helps be able to understand, oh, that's what that is. Understanding that we're not all just masters of cosplay. There are an innumerable amount of cosplayers. Yes. And they are all welcome to the table.
Yeah, and the whole point of the series was to start broad. So my first thing was like, what is cosplay? And then I went, and I talked about the genres of cosplayer, which I describe as professional actors, amateur actors. Oh, hey, Josh, how's it going? CJ Prop Studio just popped in.
Hey, CJ Prop.
So professional actors, amateur actors, and costumers. Every single person you will ever meet in a costume at a con will fit into those three categories. And then I broke it down even more. And then eventually what I ended up doing was, and what I'm doing still, is I'm interviewing people who I see as specialists in a very niche area of cosplay expression. Whether or not that's 3D printing, whether or not that's content creation. Canadian Comic Cutie is actually this week's episode, and she's all on content creation. Anyone in this show, or basically any other show that I've been on, we're very familiar with her.
She's a past guest. Go check it out. She was a great time.
Absolutely. She's a great cosplayer. And so, I wanted to do an hour-long talk entirely targeted at new audiences, tips, tricks, and honestly, sometimes caution on when you're getting into something. Here are some things to avoid or at least be aware of. So that's So You Want to Be a Cosplayer. I've got a bunch of episodes lined up. So far I've interviewed people like Myers Corp Cosplay on Con 101, Conventions 101, which I think is very important because nowadays it's about 50% of the hobby at this point is going to conventions, which is awesome. I've talked to Messiah Complex Cosplay on the ins and outs of buying cosplay online, buying cosplays online. I've talked to CJ Prop Studio about armor and foam crafting. We did a video with him, and I'm going to do another video where it's just me talking about it because I also, we talked about it and it was a great conversation. But I feel like I also want to put just my own, spin on things. And, I've got a bunch more lined up. So, if this sounds interesting to you guys at all, and yes, it's an hour. I understand that could be a long time. But honestly, there is so many nuggets of wisdom. Most of the episodes that I've done so far, I've actually learned a lot because I don't sew as much. I sew a little bit, but not a lot. I don't buy things online, but I learned a lot, which is one of the cool parts about the series itself. So that's So You Want to Be a Cosplayer. I've had a blast doing it. I have others lined up that have a bit more celebrity guests, I'm hoping. I'm hoping that this show kind of picks up enough that I can reach out to some people that are like considered higher profile. But there's really no one else I would rather talk to about the topic.
And the worst thing they can say, like what we've learned, is no.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they won't. They'll say, okay.
Yeah.
Like, wait, you will let us talk to you? Yeah, it sounds like a great time. I'm like, okay. Swing for the fences, Noah.
Exactly. And so that's been a lot of fun.
And before I can feel you're starting to move into another one, I've got questions about this one.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Because you just make all kinds of content at this point.
I do.
So what really motivated the beginning of So You Want to Be a Cosplayer? Like, did something happen? Was a conversation had that you thought, this is a needed thing to exist in the space, or maybe there's not enough of it?
I think there was a lot of people doing it individually, and not to hit, not to go after anybody, but they were going, this is how you go into cosplay according to me. And I went, that's great, and I think there's a space for that. And obviously, I'm a foam crafter. I'm going to do an episode on armor that's just me talking. There's nothing wrong with that. But I wanted I wanted one place where specialists from every corner of cosplay can be found. I wanted one shareable link, a playlist link of like, oh, you want to get into cosplay? Check this out. Hey, I know you said you wanted to get into sewing. Check this out. Instead of, and it's very much a, how does this person get into it? But most of the questions are more aimed at, when you were started, what are some mistakes you made? What are some tips and tricks to save on time that someone who's a beginner can get to know? It's not origin stories, which I think a lot of intro to cosplay videos are. It's a person's origin story, which is fine. Great content. Really, really, having that out there is fantastic. Excuse me. But I wanted one place that people can find content. And ultimately it started off with people asking, like, every time I go to a con, and I think most people get this, a lot of people go, well, how'd you get into cosplay? Or how did you make this? And I'm like, dude, we're in the middle of a convention. I can't spill the beans on this.
You wouldn't even have the time or the understanding to know the hundreds of thousands of hours I've put to get up to this point in making this one cosplay.
Exactly. And also just like the nuances of being a foam smith in the age of 3D printing, and what does that look like? And the considerations that you have going into that. But so that's kind of how it started. I honestly do think it was the homecoming video clip of Captain America going, well, you got detention. I kind of wanted, I love that cheekiness, but also that like honesty of like just sitting down. And it is honestly, it's an answer. What I want the title to be is an answer to a question, which is someone's like, I think I want to be a cosplayer. And then the cosplayer like turns around and goes, you want to be a cosplayer? Like, organs playing in the background, and
run! Don't walk!
Run! Fly if you can. Business class, get out.
Weird.
So yeah, that's kind of it. And honestly, this one, like I just said, there's so much of this out there that the imposter syndrome was nuts with this, because on one hand, I know that I know a few things.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, there are people that hype me up so much, and I just refuse to believe the hype. And so there's that idea of like, why me? Why am I going to do it? And I just kind of went, you know what? I'm just going to put it out there and whatever. I'm just going to do it anyway.
Yeah, because the real question that I think people like you need to start asking, it's not why me, it's why not you? Why not you?
Yeah.
You have been in this space since 2018. You've learned a thing or two. You've made connections.
Yeah.
Like, instead of finding reasons we don't belong at the table, why don't we just focus on the ones that do? And I think you totally belong. You have a seat at this table. And I love that the fact that you're, it's not just like sit down at my feet and let me pour forth wisdom. It's like, let's bring in other people in the conversation.
Yeah.
Because we don't all have the answers, but it's so interesting the things that come out when we just like sit down and talk.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. So I also need to mention it's guys and communities and a podcast like 4 Geeks by Geeks that bring people into one space that also inspired me to do that. Just kind of going like, this is such a cool thing that everyone loves. Everyone loves this. So there's also that of like, if I put something out, it's not like someone's going to go, why does this exist? If that makes sense. Like, it's like, oh yeah, no, of course, this is a thing. Like, this is the thing that people look for, think people love. And so that's kind of how it came about. So.
Well, good. I'm glad that you could take this track file and find some heat.
Oh no, shush you.
It's not real. Don't you will get arrested. So you mentioned that like you've learned a thing or two in these conversations in your cosplayer. Like, what are some of the biggest things so far that you've gained through these conversations? And you're just getting started.
Yeah. So I think the number one thing is, regardless of what kind of cosplayer you want to be, what kind of costumes you're going to make or how you're going to make them, planning is the number one thing. If you're going to buy a costume, do your research, source it from different places if you can. Make sure all your measurements are correct. Measure once, measure twice, all of that. But at the same time, I think there's also the underlying, and I say this in the first episode, no, never mind. Sorry, the third episode of So You Want to Be a Cosplayer. Cosplayers have a love-hate relationship with Con Crunch, because I think we're all like major procrastinators.
Oh yeah,
to some extent. And so to have those dates looming in the background, and so I've seen Con Crunch in a much different light, because it's something to be respected. It's something to be appreciated, not just feared. Like there's something about deadlines that work in art.
Absolutely.
Right. And so I think that's something I've learned.
Absolutely.
That's universal.
Here I thought I was just a procrastinator, but turns out that it's necessary to my art. Okay, if you say so. Also, can you define Con Crunch just for anybody that's tuning in?
Sure. First off, I'll say I have an episode of So You Want to Be Cosplayers called Con Terminology, or a cosplay terminology, where I go through this and a handful of other ones that you should check out. So just so you guys know, I've got my YouTube channel, and most of my videos are tutorials. I have then a playlist that is So You Want to Be a Cosplayer, and then a second playlist that's just happened today called Foam Crafting 101, which we're going to talk about later. But that's where you can find all the videos. I have a playlist. Go check that out. Con Crunch is essentially the pressure that one feels when their costume isn't complete and it's like a week away from a big convention that you were hoping the costume would be complete for. Everyone I've talked to goes, yeah, and most of the time some of my best work is done that last week, or sometimes the 24 hours before. But also if it's not planned and you've really procrastinated, sometimes it doesn't work out. But Josh is a major he's
big Con Cruncher.
A big Con Cruncher, yeah.
Do you know I heard a quote recently? And it has to do with this and the fact that you said like it's part of the art. I can't remember. It was some like Broadway musician, like composer or something, that said like greatness comes from having a good idea and not enough time to do it.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
I'm probably misquoting it a little bit. Y'all Google it. I'll Google it later. But that just validates everything you're saying, and then gives people like me the okay to stop to just be as late as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. I still think that like the best case scenario is that you get it done 2 weeks before or whatever time before.
I don't know how to do that.
I just got stuff falling all around here.
You have greatness falling all over.
I have greatness falling around. So that I think that's really cool. Is that it's a universal appreciation. So those are the two things that I've learned the most, I think. And it's not even like a massive revelation. It just it's more of like well, of course everyone kind of has appreciation for it. There's a term. We termed it. It's so present in all cosplayers' lives that we termed it.
If we hated it, it would die.
Mm-hmm.
I would think.
I think so too. So yeah, those are the two things. Talking with people, I think, those are the two big things.
And right now you have it looks like 6, 7, 8 episodes out. So y'all, if you haven't caught up yet.
Oh right, episode 0. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess you do have 0.
I have episode 0, so yeah, 8 episodes.
But 7 called episodes.
Yes. So episode 0 is simply introducing what I wanted. I wanted to tell people what So You Want to Be a Cosplayer is going to be about, what the point of it is. So that's episode 0. And then I've got 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 4 interview episodes, and 3 just talking head me episodes.
This is my favorite. And I can stare at you.
Oh yes, and my crooked bookshelves.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about that in a second.
I know. Yeah.
Wrath the Con for looking up the quote. Greatness comes from a good idea, not enough time. Is a quote by Leonard Bernstein, who also said, "To achieve great things, 2 things are needed: a plan and not quite enough time." That is I just love those quotes because I don't know why I'm in my feels about this right now because I always like beat myself up a little bit for not staying on top of things, even though I know that's how I work. I'm like, well, you know what? I'm just doomed to be inefficient. But like the more conversations like what things you're saying and Leonard Bernstein, it just makes it feel like it's okay.
Yeah. No, I think what also is important in this is not something that I explicitly have said in any episode, but I think having a couple of projects on the go is helpful. Because if you just run out of gas on one thing, you can pivot and work on something else. I'm an amateur writer. I do cosplay. I draw. I have so many things that I can actually work on and pivot. And also just I have one big project a year, and then I have a few smaller projects. So I've been working on the small project for quite a while, and then my wife actually kicked my butt on my big project, and now I'm back working on that one. But templates have also been that for me. Just these sometimes small, sometimes a bit bigger templates. Like for example, this has been a love project of mine, a little love child of mine. So the helmet, what I wanted to make were these the panoramic night vision goggles. This is really what I wanted to make. But I knew that I needed to make this as well. And so having this in mind, I was able then to develop this, and I'm honestly super proud of this. But when I was finished this part, the actual helmet part, it opened up all these other chances for these side rails of things that I can make for the side rails and actually build out this sort of environment, or what am I thinking of? Like
I knew I'd help you.
Anyway, a profile or a portfolio of things all attached to this one helmet. It's really, really cool. But then I just, I ran out of gas and I'm working on something else. But because I've got so many other things going, you can kind of keep that going. One of the things that there's a book called The War of Art. I don't remember who it's by. But one of the things that they focus on a lot is the idea of the muse and how the Greeks saw the muse. The idea of you have the muse is with me. Yes, absolutely. Go to work, go nuts. The muse is with you. You've got the energy, you've got the inspiration. That's fantastic. But what the Greeks also did, if you actually read the old poetry, is that the muse wasn't always there, but the artist would always work on something. So if you look at the beginning of the Iliad, you look at the beginning of the Odyssey, in most of the old tragedies, it starts off with hey muse, I'm going to start doing this thing. You're not here. hopefully you come and make what I'm about to do better, but I'm going to keep working on this. And so the idea of, yes, absolutely, if you're burnt out, take a break. But working on things like small things at a time and just working on your craft is something that I think Con Crunch plays into. Where just because you're under pressure doesn't mean you stop, or doesn't mean you wait until you're under pressure and all of a sudden you've got all the inspiration. You do need to work diligently, even just little bits and pieces here and there, which I think is very important in the cosplay kind of hobby. So
yeah, and just to keep like you said, your skills almost lubed up. If that's not a weird way to say it.
Well, with foam crafting and knives, I don't think you'd want lubed up, but
just lubing it up. But in your earlier episodes of So You Want to Be a Cosplayer, you got some bad feedback.
Yeah, that's the only feedback I actually ever received from those. Sorry, involuntary or unasked for.
Oh, okay.
Feedback, because I asked a few people. I've got my go-to crowd, and I've got what do you think? What do you think?
Is it going to be too painful if we have you dredge it up once more?
No, go for it. Do you have an image of it, or do I want to just pull it up? Yeah,
I do.
Yeah, my bookshelves are.
What the fuck with your bookshelves, bro? They are the crookedest thing. I don't know how any of your books are staying up. Do you live on a fault line? Are you okay?
What's weird is that I'm centered. I'm fine. My bookshelves aren't. My bookshelves are straight. Very straight. Somehow I'm not. So in reality, I'm not. I'm actually I'm angled. It's very weird. I don't understand.
How are you angled, and why did you set your camera?
I didn't think about it. I was more focused on am I in frame than angles. I'm new to this, so this is all new to me. But yeah, the number one thing people were saying is dude, next video you make, center your bookshelves.
Your camera has to be cockeyed, right? It has to be cockeyed.
It's not, yeah. And even in the intro to the Foam Crafting 101 stinger, the intro bit, you can see that I've actually zoomed in and corrected and angled it correctly and leveled my bookshelves. But I had to zoom in because there wasn't a lot of room. So that's why in the stinger my forehead's cut off. It's because I had to zoom in enough to have enough room to level them out.
And the internet had a deep sigh of relief.
Yeah, and now I actually just have a blank white wall I film on. I'm like, I'm done.
You know what? Screw these books.
Screw these books. Screw looking academic in your YouTube videos. Just go blank white walls.
My favorite is the Twilight series, just up here in the upper.
It
really needs front and center.
Really,
Red Sparrow. Okay. What else? Got some Dan Brown?
I got a bunch, dude. So I got all the Dan Brown, the whatever series that is.
Light Erotica. That's nice. I have to tilt my head even further because
yeah.
But honestly, I thought this was a huge, just a flex, because sometimes in our videos, T and I's, we will, especially him, will intentionally say something wrong, just to get the feedback, to get people corrected, because no one loves anything more than correcting people in the comments.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this guy is brilliant. He's setting himself up for engagement right off the bat.
I wish.
Take a bow.
No, pure amateur. That's all that is.
No, I like it anyway. It shows we're all human.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, yeah, it was that. I was like, yep, heard, absolutely. But now I just have white walls, so it works. I like it.
It works. I liked like CJ Prop said, it gave a little personality. So
his personality, yeah.
Except Wrath of Khan, I didn't see any Stephen King.
Do you know why I don't have any Stephen King? Because I only collect books from good authors. No, I'm totally kidding.
Oh,
I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. In all honesty, I've never been able to read more than a few chapters of Stephen King. I do find his writing very bland. Devil's advocate, or not devil's advocate, but just to point it out, the wall is me and my wife's wall. It's all of our books all together in genre. We used to have my bookshelf and then her bookshelf, which is why if I ever show, actually I think I did post a photo of it. We have 3 sets of Lord of the Rings books, and 2 sets of the Chronicles of Narnia books. And we're joking around. The joke is that we're going to try and see how many copies of the Lord of the Rings, trilogy or whatever that we can collect. There's a whole bookshelf of Tolkien.
I think you go back to the bookshelf in the back, but just like slowly change the landscape of the books that you have back there, and like sneak in some erotica just to see people notice. And then have that entire bookshelf one day of Lord of the Rings.
You saw Twilight. You saw Twilight. That counts.
It does. Okay, so you want to be a cosplayer.
Yes.
And not only do you make templates and massive cosplays and amazing things you sell on Etsy, but you thought I should make a YouTube series, but not just one. How about 2?
It was originally 1. Honestly, it was originally 1.
Really?
It was. I was gonna break up the interviews and have foam crafting 101. So I was gonna have So You Want to Be a Cosplayer, foam crafting 101, and then title. That's just way too busy. Even though I joke around that the So You Want to Be a Cosplayer, is it anagram? It's just the initials. Is Swebak, which is a Eastern European kind of sweetbread, which I love. It's like,
is it really?
Yeah.
SYB.
Yeah, Svebak.
SYWBAC.
SWYBAC. So I go, yeah. Oh no, yeah, YW.
So you want? Where's the 2?
Well, don't worry about it.
Hey, Jada, welcome back. Thanks for the sub. Past guest right there.
Thank you. So the foam crafting 101 I was going to do all in one go, because I batch filmed these, and so I was kind of hoping that I could just kind of sit down and do a bunch of videos, but my loving wife sat down and kind of went, you need to separate them. They need their own attention, and honestly sometimes their own crowd, which I agree with. And so today, as of 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the first 5, and then as of tomorrow, the first 6 episodes of Foam Crafting 101 is going live. And so, yeah, it's great. It's going to be, so far, it's going to be a 13, probably 14-part series where, as my stinger says, I'm going to take you from the very beginning, concept and materials and tools, to finishing a foam project of your own, sub 10 minutes. So sub 10-minute videos, so that they're very easy to binge, to be completely honest with you. They're easy to share. They're very niche. So they're about one part of a topic very specifically. And so people can, if they want to learn about templating. So I did a video. Templating is kind of is one of the things I'm well known for. And so I could do 2 episodes on templating. I do what is templating, and I kind of give people a way to read templating, what to expect on templates, and how to read it. And then I did templating 101, how to make your own templates, and what I suggest you do, what other people do. And so being able to do these sub 10-minute episodes, I can really narrow in on one little thing. And then hopefully someone can just find that one video. They don't have to scan through 45 minutes of tutorial to find that 5 minutes that they want. They just go to this 1 5-minute video and it's there.
So unlike So You Want to Be a Cosplayer, which are more like long form conversations like this one, that these are just more like almost like an index where, should I have a question about this, go through my Freakish Workshop YouTube. Oh, there's the one I need. got it. Now I can go on with my day.
Yeah, and honestly, it's also very simplified. So I try and aim again at a very new user base, a new audience. And so because of that, things are very simple. Things are very, and there's watered down and dumbed down are kind of have these negative connotations, like you're taking away from something.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to make it more receivable, more absorbable.
I think simplifying is a better
simplifying.
Word.
Yeah.
Like this large concept, and you're just simplifying it into smaller bits.
Yeah.
And then from there you can expand and go on to bigger projects. But you got to have the building blocks first.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what Foam Crafting 101 is it's more of a so you've got a template, you bought a template online. First off, how do you read the template? And then we're going to build this. And this is your kind of first time, maybe first, second, third, fourth, fifth time where you're still not as comfortable as someone like me who's been doing it for years. Where I can I've pulled together, there's actually one of my template bundles for gauntlet modifications. So if you're interested, guys, in fancying up your gauntlets, I have 2 bundles where you buy 3 patterns for one. One of them is a wrist gun, essentially. I don't know if you could say that.
Sure.
Okay. I call it the Bounty Hunter Blaster, but it's basically Deadshot's wrist blaster.
Oh, okay.
That template I stenciled out using a ruler and my pencil in my head entirely, digitized it, and I think I changed 1 or 2 things. But it's because I've been working on templates and foam for so long that I could pull this whole thing together entirely in my head without having to like R&D paper pieces and all that kind of stuff. So this is not that. This is very intro, very beginner, very cosplay 101 kind of stuff. And so I'm excited for Foam Crafting 101. I've had a lot of fun making it. So You Want to Be a Cosplayer has been fantastic because again I've learned a lot as well. And I'm also excited about the guests. A lot of them are people that I know, people that I respect. And then hopefully I get some other kind of higher profile people in as well. And I think a lot of people will really, really love those. So yeah.
Dude, you're doing such good things. I'm over here like applauding you because I think it's so easy for anybody that reaches some form of like an echelon where you feel confident, you know what you're doing, knowing that you can always learn more. That's not what I'm saying, but feeling good about what you're doing. And some people just don't like realize the steps it took to get there and how many other people helped them along the way. And so I just love that you are not doing that. Like you realize we just might need a little guiding hand. Like, who was your guiding hand when you first started out?
So the person that got me into foam crafting is a woman by the name of Jessica Cross. She does like book stuff now. She's not into cosplay anymore, but she was a foam crafter for a while, and so she helped me. A lot of these episodes are things that I remember asking in the very beginning. The content of the episodes for Foam Crafting 101 is a mix of I remember asking it, and I remember watching tutorials that didn't talk about this and assumed you knew. And that pissed me off. It pissed me off so much. The very first idea I ever had for a YouTube channel were essentially debunking videos where I would follow someone's step-by-step process, exactly how they said it. And then I knew, because again, I cherry-picked them, of course, but I would follow their instructions online and then go and then hold up what the result was and go, so no, what you told us to do is incorrect. And then I would go back and go, so what he didn't tell you is that this and this and that, and you have to fold it in like this and wait for your glue to do that. And so that was kind of the start of half of, I think, the videos I have planned are watching tutorials. They changed something off camera and me going, but what you just did is important. What did you just do?
So they're either assuming that you know, they are like intentionally doing something so it doesn't turn out, like sabotaging.
Yeah, or they just didn't think. I think a lot of, like, I learned a lot doing foam crafting 101 because a lot of it's just in my head and I never talk about it.
Yeah.
And now I have to put words into things. It really helped me understand my craft. And I mean, it just came out. I know people are, I know I kind of sound like kind of nepotistic, but it's all coming out now. I've filmed this weeks ago. I've written them weeks ago, or months ago even. And so sitting down, yeah, exactly. And so being able to do that and learning in that process has been fantastic. And I hope it translates. Obviously, I'm putting it out there knowing that there are a bunch of other series like this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I want to. I do give myself a caveat. I do, and this is my I don't know if it's pride or humility because I think those get mixed up quite a bit.
It's probably a mix of both.
It's probably a mix of both, where I don't think I'm that good, but I do know that I'm okay. Where in the stinger to my foam crafting 101 video, I say, I've been cosplaying since 2018, and while I'm not a master cosplayer, I do know a few things. And that's my little caveat that I need to spin on it to be okay with the video.
Otherwise, you will not post it.
Otherwise, I won't post it. If I was like, listen to me, kids, buckle up.
So you want to be a cosplayer.
Yeah, good luck.
No, I don't think that's pride. I mean, it's humility, but what it sounds like is confidence. Like, you haven't made it this far and been able to achieve what you have, like with your other cosplays, and I highly recommend anybody go to his YouTube channel, but use the link below if you're watching after the fact, or use command Freakish and go to his Instagram. The man is making some amazing things, and they're getting bigger and bigger, but you can't do that by not knowing shit. So
yeah, no,
I think it's
fair
just
enough.
fact. Like, you don't know everything, nobody does,
No.
but you know more than me, the viewer watching this video, who sought out how to foam craft.
Yeah. No, and fair enough. And it's absolutely the imposter syndrome. And there's no right or wrong or single way to get out of that or get used to imposter syndrome. I think it's healthy in some ways.
I was going to say, I think we need to not try to boot out the imposter syndrome sometimes.
Just calling us dumb.
Yup.
No, I think it's one of those, like, I knew, going back to Goblin, I knew people were going to like it because Goblin doesn't get cosplayed very often.
Right.
So it's a rare cosplay. I knew that going in. What I wasn't expecting was how much people would love it. It definitely, there were two cosplays that allowed me to break through certain walls, if you were, of popularity. The first one was my Praetorian Guard from Star Wars The Last Jedi. That one really, like, I saw a viewer spike, like a follower spike from that one. Hey, there we go. Yeah, that's worth celebrating.
Yeah, there you go. I'm looking it up right now on your Instagram. I'm going to pull it up.
Okay, yeah, and then Goblin, honestly, and I think that was, well, I won Best in Show at ThunderCon, which again I wasn't planning on entering. I kind of got peer pressured into entering ThunderCon.
Oh my god, this guy walked in, doesn't even want to. Oops,
no, seriously,
I
walked in, and the ticket ladies that were there, they were amazing ladies. Oh yeah, there he is.
We talked about this at length on his last full Geek Out Sesh that didn't involve a tutorial that we failed.
I still have the tutorials for this.
Oh, good.
No, not the tutorials. The templates.
Can they be found on your Etsy shop?
No, because I haven't done it yet. But in the next few years, I am looking to guest spot at some cons, and I've thought about remaking at least the torso, the arms, and the helmet as just a display piece. Because it's honestly, I'm still so proud of it.
Yeah,
and it's still such a cool set of armor. It's one of those cosplays that this is the one bragging I'll do. I am like 98% certain I was the only foam Praetorian cosplayer at the taking of this photo. In the world, I knew there were some people doing it with sheet metal at the time.
Okay,
and there were some people doing carbon fiber.
Okay,
but foam, I'm fairly certain I was the only one, and I think there's some Pepakura files out now. But when it comes to foam templates, I think I might kind of have the run of the land on that one. But anyway,
get on it.
Yeah,
put it on your Etsy shop now.
I'm going to, honestly. There's
hammering and
I have them. I might just do the arms. Like, just the arms themselves are pretty cool.
Yeah.
In the way that I figured out how to make them, but I need to make a few things bigger. But the Praetorian, that one I saw a bunch of people kind of take me a little bit more seriously in that, just because there's the interlocking layers. It was a popular movie at the time. And then Goblin. It was one of those just blown away moments where I was not expecting how popular it was going to be, how much people loved it, and then how many people stuck around to keep watching. There was a lot of people who, when I went to Toronto Fan Expo, for the first time, there was a bunch of people that were saying that they had followed me for a while, and seeing Goblin up close was, pictures don't do it justice, and all that. Which was, again, very humbling, and I appreciate it. So it actually made me think about sticking in Marvel a little bit more. I've done Punisher, but that was kind of a side cosplay. I didn't take it too seriously. But my next big one is A, a secret. B, it is also in the Marvel universe. And it's going to shake the ground. I'll say that much.
C, it's also badass.
Yes. Yeah.
Or D, E, all of them are badass. Because I got to see it off stream, you guys. Not getting out of me.
You got to see what I have done, which is very little compared to the full project.
Okay, but it's going to look awesome.
It is.
It still looks awesome. Like what you have.
I showed him the concept art because, again, I mentioned I draw. And so most of my cosplays I'll do concept art for, especially because I try and do original looks and designs. And so I showed Boser the concept art, and if it's like 75% as cool as the concept art, it's gonna be awesome.
Then it's gonna be awesome, yeah, for sure. And just with like things like the Praetorian Guard or Goblin, like honestly, the sky's the limit. Like you have shown that anything that you want to take time to sit down and figure out, you can do, and it's gonna be badass.
And you can even change the design a little bit, like. I obviously got inspiration from a bunch of other people, but for Goblin in particular, the mouth I took straight from samurai masks. And I've seen fan art, but I actually haven't seen cosplays where they brought that samurai aspect into it, and people loved it. It was there's two things people pointed out. One of them was the scales, and the second one was they loved the tusks. They loved the mouthpiece of Goblin. So yeah, play around with the design. Like, have fun with it. Put your own spin on it. You will have fans of what you do. People will look at it and love it. So,
okay, but if someone was to say that to you,
yeah,
before you had fans, you probably wouldn't have believed them.
I think I probably would have doubted the public's love of it. I've been drawing superheroes and original designs and altered designs my entire life. And so the idea of taking a character and just changing a lot of them isn't new to me. That part wouldn't have been new. How much other people would love the new, that definitely I wouldn't have believed.
Right, because who hasn't heard of somebody going to a con and somebody walking up to them with the expectation that it should be completely like manga accurate versus anime accurate versus the comic book versus the movie, and like through a smile and a compliment shits on it for not being exactly right. Yeah.
Every art expression has its Puritans, and I think as rude as they can be, I think they also need to be appreciated. I think their expression, their love of the character is part of the reason why that character is popular. In fact, most of the time, I would argue, a character becomes popular is because it had its Puritan base that then promoted and expanded the fan base. And so, in the same way that I think you should appreciate people who want to take a concept and completely twist it and change it to the point where it's not even recognizable, I think you need to also appreciate the other side of cosplay. I'll bring this up as well. In the cosplay community, you get the people that come up at cons, and it's very obvious that this is probably the only social interaction they get every year.
Sometimes, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about. There's the kinds of people that you can see or smell before you ever meet them. And as awkward as they are, they're also some of my favorite people to see at a con, because I know how important con is to them, and it's their only social interaction. And if it's going to be a social interaction, con is a great social interaction.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so it's one of those, like, if con is the positive, side of their life, I'm glad they're there. I appreciate that they're there. I've had hilarious interactions with them. I was walking behind two guys, and the guy was like, "I didn't know Bruce Wayne had guns," and this is one of my Batman cosplays. And the guy was like, "It's technically not Bruce Wayne, it's technically Thomas Wayne." And I kind of like butted into the conversation. I was like, "Your friend's right." And I turned around, went around. I was like, "Oh, F word!" Like, oh my goodness, they didn't know I was there. But they were great. It was fantastic. So,
and that's just the cool thing about not only cons but just cosplay in general is, like, because of where it spawned from. Like, people are cosplaying characters from anime, from, geek central things. And while it's becoming more and more popular, it still doesn't feel like you're the coolest kid of the block.
No.
When you're, like, when you love those kinds of things, and you, like, that's why all of this exists, so that you have everybody should have a safe space. But at a con, and while cosplaying, at least in its most ideal form, in my opinion, is when everybody and everything is celebrated exactly as it is. Like, come as you are, love what you love, as long as we're not doing anything illegal or harmful to somebody. But at least, like, at a con,
Well, caveat there. Little subtext.
Yeah. And that's why I
think it's part of the love of conventions is everyone's there for one purpose. It's to love what they love publicly.
To geek out.
Yeah, and I think cosplay is a big part of that. I think in my time being a cosplayer, I've seen the percentage of people cosplaying start from a minority in 2018 to a majority of people at a con are dressed up to some extent. And whether or not that's now into, like, horror movies are a big thing at cons. So you get people who are just dressed up in what looks like what I call civvies, civilian clothes, at a con, where it looks like just plain dress wear. To me in foam armor, dying of dehydration and heat exhaustion inside my armor.
Like, this was so good idea, but in hindsight, I'm dying. Yeah, no, I learned my lesson. I'm putting fans in my next one.
It's fantastic that we get to do it. I also joke around. I'm not joke around. I'm actually very serious about this. Everyone knows a cosplayer. Everyone knows a cosplayer. It just depends on how vocal that cosplayer is about their cosplay.
Right.
It's like the third degree of separation. Everyone's like the third degree. Everyone knows everyone. Right? Everyone knows a cosplayer at least by 1 degree. They just don't know that they're a cosplayer.
Yeah, like, as a cosplayer, think of all the people that would be shocked to find out you were a cosplayer. Like, people that you know very well in your life.
Oh yeah.
That you have this huge following. And yeah, that's funny.
It's true. Honestly, if you started asking around, hey, do you know anyone who, like, does that cosplay thing? Someone be like, oh yeah, no, my son does that. Haven't I told you about it? And you're like,
So what do you feel about, like, is is the current state of cosplay with like the trajectory that it's going, and like seeing from where it's come. I'm just curious, like, what's your take on what it is now and what you think it's going to become in the future?
That's a great question. I'm not one to say that there shouldn't be any gatekeeping. I think their gatekeeping is an effective tool to an extent. Otherwise, people who airsoft are the best cosplayers on the planet because they are using brand named companies are producing essentially replica gear, and you're dressing up like something at a event where everyone appreciates what you're doing, which is wargaming. But no one considers airsofters cosplayers.
Would define airsofter?
So airsoft is a game where you use plastic or metal guns to shoot plastic BBs.
Right. I was shot in the tongue with one in a backyard once.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But you say they're not considered cosplayers? Do people often like?
Yeah. Well, so yes, unfortunately, it's one of the reasons that you have prop restrictions is because people try and bring airsoft guns in. But my point is that there are people who cosplay not for the art. They cosplay for clout and just getting TikTok views. I'm just gonna put it out there. And we're getting to a peak where there is a good chunk of people who we've welcomed into the community who are dictating what cosplay is based off of the fact that they're a very loud voice. They're popular. They're up front. They get the most views. They're being promoted by the algorithm. They're going, this is cosplay. And you're going, but you're ignoring 90% of what cosplay is to everyone else. And so I think we're going to reach a point where there's going to be some, and I think there already is some friction between people who have been doing it, and they're the ones that are like sweating in their basements and they're poking themselves with needles and they're sticking their hands together with super glue,
right?
Who eventually are going to go, I'm not what you are. People who, buy a costume online and then they wear it once for TikTok views, and that's all they do. They don't go to cons. They don't do anything. They just get TikTok views, and that's it. They got into it because it was popular. In the same way that if you go to an airsoft arena and you're seeing all of this stuff and you realize the background of it, which is, again, like, for those of you who don't know, actual gun manufacturers license the design, the outside of their guns, to airsoft companies, or in fact sometimes even have subcontracts or like divisions in their gun manufacturing that make airsoft bodies, and then airsoft mechanics are put inside of them. So in that way, it's like buying a movie prop and then cosplaying with the movie prop, except it's your entire costume. So right now, for example, there's the Dracula armor that John... Is it John Goodman? No. Anyway, famous red Dracula armor is on auction right now. If you saw it, you'd go, "Oh, that armor."
Okay.
Yeah. Look, I don't remember the actor's name. I feel bad because he's
Dracula armor.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So imagine that. Yeah. I brought it up.
This?
Yes. So that is being auctioned off. Imagine if someone bought that just to get views, never wears it again. Like, that's all they do. Like, they have their
like,
whole thing
to a con and say, "Hey, look."
There's no con. There's none of that. They don't interact with cosplays at all. They just know that if they wear this armor and they show up on a social media platform that's very popular, they'll get views, and that's what they're going to use it for. That, I think, we're getting to a point where that's starting to. There's starting to be divisions in the cosplay community with that. but that's also just everything popular gets that point, right? There's
Right.
the Star Wars fans that only got into it with Mandalorian, and all the old Star Wars fans go, "You're not a real Star Wars fan," and we have to figure what that's going to be like as a community. But I think that's kind of where we're at. That's not, don't be scared about getting into cosplay, because again, there's always going to be a spot for you. We're a very large community, and there's still tons of room in it for you. So please come on in. But it's a very roundabout answer to your question.
But it sounds like you're kind of, are you fearful or like pessimistic about, I guess, the positive parts of the cosplay community? Like, it almost sounds like eventually it's going to come a point to a head where it's like, okay, these are cosplayers, but we are like crafters, or like almost a separate term to differentiate.
Yeah, I think in the same way that I'm just going to come out and say it, artists are finally standing up for themselves against AI art.
Uh-huh.
And you're seeing AI art that were artists, if you want to use that term, got into conventions or art fairs with AI art and then are being kicked out. I wonder if that's going to be a thing. I don't know. But I feel like at some point, someone who is sanding forever and they're putting their blood, sweat, and tears into something, there's going to be a division between those who are just getting into it for clout versus, I want to love this character in my own way. I'm going to build a costume around it. I hope that's clear. I don't know.
Yeah, I just think that's a really sticky wicket. If that's going to happen.
I don't think that's what I should clarify, that I think that's what's going to happen. Not that that's what I think should happen. Those are two different things.
Sure.
What I hope is that people who get into it for one reason stick around and start to love it, and they stick around and they start to appreciate the characters, and they're not just chasing views, that they start to love the craft. But I also
feel like that's the only option, because if you're in this long enough, I don't know, like I feel like they're bound to meet people like you, and and other amazing people in this craft. And it's like, imagine your imposter syndrome and you are actually making these things. Can you imagine the level of imposter syndrome someone would have if they're just buying these things and getting a ton of love for it? I would hope that somewhere in their heart that would motivate them to maybe dig a little deeper, if that's if they are that surface level.
I agree. I think I agree, and I hope that's the case. I think we've seen this in the travel industry. You have travel influencers who do not care about the cultures that they're going into. They just want to make fancy TikTok videos and get free hotel visits, versus you have travel bloggers who've been doing this for years, and they go to this back-end restaurant that's not 5 stars. You can't find it on Google. You have to talk to, Enrique or whatever to get into the door. Like, it's one of those, there's the two different sides, and you're seeing the travel influencers being separated from travel bloggers in that way. And I hope it doesn't happen in the cosplay community, but I feel like I see the lines starting to be dug in the sand. I don't know if other people agree with me. But
and that's why I think I was asking, because there's something in my soul that kind of senses it going that direction too. And I am not as plugged into the cosplay community as maybe you are. We just kind of like swim in the same pool as all geekdoms and love it. But that means that I just don't get as dug in. But even from my point, I wasn't sure if what I'm feeling is actually like I'm sensing from the outskirts, or whether from the outskirts I can't really tell what's going on.
Oh no, like the Gore Crows are circling. If you bring in a fantasy reference, like there are rumblings. Again, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope there's no like, we're cutting a line. You are not, in the same way that you can go, in your head, if I say travel influencer, you know exactly who you're looking at. You're looking at Barbie and Ken traveling to Spain or South Africa or Peru, having no idea what's going on around them, except that they got a free hotel visit and they're being very rude. And then you think of a travel blogger. Those are two very different kinds of people that you picture in your head. At least for me, that's what I do.
I'm even less part of those scenes, so no, I don't picture
I'm throwing analogies out
there. Now I've got some friends that are one of those. Now I'm like, which one are they? The fake fuckers or the real one? They're pretty good guys, I think.
No, and again, I think the lines are still blurred on a lot of these things, which is good. I think it needs to be.
It's to stay blurred.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's. I think it's still stable, but I think that we're on a slippery slope. But that's the reality of every new thing when things get popular, right? The fact is that cosplay has had a very, very, very slow progression to a peak. A lot of things, right, especially in the social in today's age, just skyrocket. Boom, they're big and popular, and then nothing.
Well, when cosplay started, like in the early thousands, like it didn't start then, but when it was just starting to become like a little more trendy, showing up at cons more often, like social media wasn't a thing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And now, I'm gonna sound like Grandpa Boser for sure, but it's like, well, let me talk out of both sides of my mouth. On one hand, social media allows us to do this, and how cool is this that you and I can sit down and talk about whatever we want. And social media made that happen. It connected us. Mm-hmm. And on the other, it's like literally ruining everything.
Yeah, no, I think, and that's the, I always get these mixed up. So I need to it's not the sword of Damocles, but it's the idea of the double-edged sword. Uh-huh. You know, make sure that the sword you cleave with doesn't also cut you. And social media is very new in human history.
True.
We don't know it's a tool. We know it's a tool. We don't know what for. Because originally it was for computation, and then it was for news, and then it was for entertainment, and now it's to get famous. And now we don't know what it is yet. And not that, you know, it's always changing. But I think within the cosplay community in particular, because it's so slow, and honestly, there's such a low bar. There is no bar to entry. Right? Like you can I always bring this story up. One of my favorite memories of cosplay is going to my first con in my first, homemade Batman cosplay, and looking across this kind of open space, and there were guys in cardboard wrapped in tinfoil medieval armor, and everyone loved them. They were being like drowned in fans. That's the bar to entry. There's no bar. That's the bar. On the flip side, you guys know this. You have like the D&D crowd.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bar to entry. You need someone who's good at storytelling. You need friends that actually will take it as seriously as you will. If it's gonna be fun, if it's gonna be realistic, but you also
on
need
the same page. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You all need to be on the same page. So you need some sort of stats. You need these tools to be in this hobby, or at least to interact with the hobby. You see this a lot with, I would say, COVID and Critical Role. Is that what that big one that got really big over COVID? Is that, yeah.
Yeah. That's from a Critical Role. I've got other Critical Role things within reach.
That's awesome.
Cube. I'm a big fan.
But for them, you honestly saw, at least from my perspective, an outsider. I play role-playing games, but not as seriously as you guys do it.
Because you don't have the time.
I don't have the time. I really don't.
You're creating too much.
But I saw everyone get into it overnight, and 99% of the people who got into it are not in it right now. Because of the bar to entry. You need certain things for this to actually work smoothly.
Yeah.
And that's including me. I've joined campaigns 3 times.
Yeah.
And it just falls apart. And that's fine. It's part of it. And I know that's also part of the hobby.
It's honestly just part of the hobby.
Yeah.
Big bad always is scheduling and getting with your friends.
Exactly, but D&D has had, or I'll say role-playing games.
Yeah.
Has had, like, it got popular in, what, the 80s?
Yeah. And
then
the devil.
It came down because it was the devil. Popular. And then it just did this.
It kind of did,
for
right?
decades. COVID happened, it spiked, and no one gatekeeped. The hobby gatekeeped itself. And it came down, and now it's higher than before. Much higher, right? You've got Critical Role, you've got all these celebrity ones now, which is really cool. You're seeing all these people, you know, and it's more popular than ever.
Yeah.
And you're getting all these new people who are like, well, I'll make my own D&D then. Like, it's so cool. You've got this new influx of people. That's what I had. But you guys had your peak, and it gatekeeped all the people for the bar of entry. Cosplay has no bar of entry, and it's been doing this.
Just a slow incline.
Yeah, and I don't think we're at the peak. I honestly don't think we're at the peak. I think it's going to get
the peak. Like how many years before cosplay just blows itself up?
I think there needs to be a augmented reality costume. I think at some point there's going to be enough people with like Google glasses or something where someone's going to be wearing a QR code and it's going to be a 3D rendering of a costume.
Cool.
I think at that point we'll hit the peak. That's too much. That's too much.
It's too far. It's like you downloaded a QR code. You didn't make any of this. But that would still be awesome, and I'd still be excited when it happens first.
Oh, 100%. I would fanboy over that so hard because that's such a cool idea. But yeah, no, it's an interesting state. It's weird being in. I talked to Myers Corp Cosplay during my Convention 101 episode of So You Want to Be a Cosplayer, and he was talking about how while conventions are still a massive chunk of cosplay, and I still think they're about 50% of the cosplay hobby is convention going, it's not necessarily required anymore because you have a con right here. It's called Instagram.
It's called 4 Geeks by Geek.
Or 4 Geeks by Geek. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, your Instagram. Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Yeah. No. Sorry, something caught in my throat.
It's that funny. It's not he said Instagram. Did you mispronounce?
No. It doesn't go by that. It's X now. No, I'm kidding.
But yes, you have all the cosplayers that you love to see right there on your phone.
You get access to them whenever you want. You have crowds of other cosplays and inspiration to go off of. You've got Reddit where you can sit in your panels and just talk back and forth about things and share ideas and share strategies. So that while the convention is still a massive piece, it's no longer required. Yeah. Which is really, really cool. But again, it's part of the hobby evolving. And
again, it's cool, but social media is like ruining it because like I want there to be a reason to get together in person because it's just not like it.
Oh, I'm still 100%. I'm the physical media. I don't want to work from home. I want to go to work. I want to go to class. I don't want to go on class on my laptop in my basement.
No, that's depressing.
You know, yeah, it is. It really is. So,
on that depressing note,
there've been so many episodes where I'm like, I need to inject a happy question at the end of my interview notes. I'm like, what should people watch out for? That's cool. What's your funnest cosplay?
No, if anything, it's just I was glad that we got this point in the conversation because like I knew we would, and I knew that you'd have some interesting takes on it. And honestly, for me, it just adds more clout to your not imposter syndrome that you shouldn't have. It's like you can't have hot takes like this unless you're in it. And it's just really great to have these conversations. And so you should go to Freakish Workshop on YouTube and Instagram and X and TikTok and Etsy and go have these conversations and buy a template and learn how cosplay works, learn how a con works. Gonna break things down to you and not assume that you already have it figured out because some people need help like myself. And I'm really grateful for people like you.
I appreciate it. I'm thankful for people like you because you got me into it. So,
no, That's not true. Don't say lies
It's true.
on the internet.
It's true. Well, I said it on the internet now, which means it's true.
Oh, wow.
That's how it works. That's how the internet works.
Thank you. We need to be having like all conversations on the internet. I can't wait to see where the rest of your craft goes and your content. Because just like everything else you do, I know that you're starting, I guess in a smaller way, figuring it out. But as you're figuring it out, this thing's going to explode. And Freakish Workshop is going to be the #1 place to go to for all cosplay tips.
Those are big shoes to fill, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Manifesting it now. Yaya Han who? Just kidding. Just kidding, Mama Yaya. I'm kidding. Yes, guys, go love on it. The links are below, or you can use command Freakish if you're still here in the chat. Noah, thanks for just sharing your craft, honestly, and thanks for being authentic and not an ass about it.
I do my best. No, I'm kidding. I appreciate you having me on. This has been fantastic. And I hope people like the videos. If it's not your cup of tea, I totally understand. At the same time, it's one of the things we kind of talked about with the internet as well. Is there's so much content out there, and I know that I'm adding my voice to the crowd, to the tumultuous. I don't know where I was going.
I like that. Tumultuous.
Oh boy.
I'm glad I said that out loud.
That's on the internet forever.
Media. Neat. The tumultuous noise.
The tumultuous noise that is the cosplay community. So if you like it, appreciate a like, a subscribe. If you think and you know someone who would like the content, please share. It's one of the reasons that the Foam Crafting 101 is sub 10 minutes. It's easy to watch. It's not like I have to carve out an evening to go watch this, this episode. It's more like I'm on the toilet and we'll watch it. So,
but it's one of those where I'm on the toilet and an hour later, my wife's like, "What is happening? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Shit, I'm on episode 6 already." Wow. Oops.
Well, hopefully that'd be a great scenario.
Just know when you see the views climb. And
Boser's on the toilet.
Boser's pooping, probably pooping. But all of you at home, thank you so much for tuning in for tonight's Geek Out Sesh. You can always check back Mondays Eastern Standard at 8:30 p.m. We do this each and every Monday, except for the Mondays that we don't. And we will be meeting back next week with Rising Eagle Comics. Once again, a returning guest. But they've got some cool stuff headed into C2E2, the Chicago Comic-Con. That's the next one I'm headed to at the end of this month. Can't wait.
I'm gonna come to C2E2 one day. Like,
please do.
Very seriously, it's on my list of like US cons that I really want to get to.
Yes.
I've heard nothing but fun about it, so I hope
like a family
I can be there.
At this point.
Yeah,
all of our favorite, well, not all, most of our favorite cosplayers. They tend to be local, unlike you Canadians up there.
Canadians.
But I'll come up to Canada if you come to C2E2.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
But as always, I am Boser.
I am Freakish Workshop.
And you just keep geeking out. Geeking out. Geeking out.
Geeking out.
There it is.
Hey.